Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. You may have seen that very odd fight between Daniel Dubois and Kevin Lerena of South Africa. Lerena, a former cruiserweight, decent enough fighter. I've seen him a few times before, but brought in to really get bombed out of there early by Daniel Dubois, who is being groomed as possibly a future heavyweight champion, certainly a world-class heavyweight. Well, as you may have seen, the fight starts. Not much for the first minute, and then Lerena lands a very, very accurate and hard hook to the top of Dubois' head. Dubois, all over the place, legs do a funny dance. He hits the floor, gets up, looks shell-shocked, and then he takes a knee twice before the round is over. The second one, a few scuffing punches did land, but it looked like Dubois' legs just weren't there. He did take a knee essentially twice. So a massive round for Lerena, and then the second round, Lerena stopped, didn't do anything. Perhaps he was looking for one punch again, allowed Dubois to come back into it, and then Lerena gets floored in the third twice, and right at the end of the round, the fight stopped in favour of Dubois, who wins a 3-round TKO. The first round, the bell went early, I think 9 seconds early. Why did Dubois take a knee twice? I've heard that he's got an injured knee. Something wrong. Or is it an ankle? I think it's his knee, actually. That's the report I read. And a few people have made comments in the post-fight video I made about him having an injured knee. Now look, all of this is a very odd scenario. And sometimes in life things are odd. They're just peculiar. And it's something out of the blue. You don't expect it. Well, of course, inevitably, with this particular scenario, out come all the conspiracy theorists. And if you've watched my videos before, you'll know what I think about the conspiracy theory mentality. I think it is generally infantile, paranoid, and moronic. However, conspiracies do happen. And certainly within boxing, skullduggery goes on. It's undeniable. I mean, there is actual evidence for skullduggery going on. Now, we're not talking in the modern game. We're not talking about, mafia involvement and Blinky Palermo and all the rest of it. Very interesting subject to look at, how the mafia controlled or tried to control boxing back in the 50s and 60s, and Customato with Floyd Patterson tried to avoid the mob, didn't let the mob get their teeth into him, and blah blah blah. Very interesting subject. But modern day skullduggery is different. It's not brown envelopes under tables during, meetings in restaurants. This is far more subtle, and attempts are made to hide it and at least obscure the fact that it is skullduggery. If you want a recent example of what I would say is a very suspicious fight, of how a fighter there was an attempt made to possibly rob a fighter, I would say look at Canelo versus Bivol. Why do I say this? Because if you look at the first 4 or 5 rounds, which Bivol won very clearly, there was some outrageous scoring, some inexplicably outrageous scoring going on there. And the idea was, I think, Teddy Atlas actually has talked about this. We're going to give the early rounds to Canelo, come hell or high water, it doesn't matter what happens. In the middle rounds, we'll make it even, and then in the final third of the fight, we'll give it to Canelo and he'll win a tight decision. But of course, Bivol dominated, and there was no way of doing that without appearing to, well, without, inflicting such an outrage that the stink would be, you could smell it from, Mexico to LA to Britain to Europe. I mean, it would have been just an obscene decision. So I think a fix of sorts was probably very subtly being mooted in that fight, but they didn't get a chance to follow it through. That's my theory. Do I have any evidence for this? No, other than the cards themselves, which were so outrageously inaccurate early on in that fight that you've got to question them. And there are other things that have gone on. I know I saw one of G-Man Boxing's videos earlier today. He mentioned Lucas Brown and Ruslan Chagayev over in Chechnya. All sorts of things went on there. Yeah, very, very suspicious, very suspicious. But was the fix, and the fix in inverted commas, was it in with this Dubois fight? I would say the first round ending early is suspicious. I would say that Lerena, in the second round, the fact that he came out, he didn't really do anything, is that suspicious? I would say Lerena was probably just thinking he could get Dubois in any kind of trouble as soon as he wanted to with one punch, and just took his foot off the gas. I don't think that early bell. Yeah, I'd have to have a think about that one. I wouldn't dismiss that as being suspicious, but overall, I think if there was, if this was a sort of premeditated fight, if you like, I don't think Lerena would have come out banging. If Dubois had knocked out Lerena in 2 minutes, no one would have said anything. They'd have said, well, Dubois is heavy-handed. But for Lerena, if the so-called fix is in, I don't think Lerena was party to it. I don't think anyone had paid him off. I think he was genuinely trying to win. I don't think if he had been paid off, he'd have been slinging wild hooks, you know, and looking to hurt Dubois in the first round. But having been very badly hurt, Dubois, were certain actions designed to sort of rescue him? Was the stoppage of Lerena early? At the end of the third round, wasn't it? Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. Some people say that this was a. I don't think the fix was in the traditional sense of a conspiratorial paying off of people or anything like that. But as the house fighter, was Dubois given a break with the curtailed round and with maybe the stoppage of Lerena at the end of the third? The latter point, no. I think the stoppage was probably accurate, probably designed. Lerena had been on the floor once already, was on the ropes, and it took a huge uppercut and was being battered and sank into the ropes. I don't think that was an early stoppage. I think the only possible alarm bell is the round ending early. But there is a perfectly legitimate argument to be made. Well, it was just, these things happen. Sometimes the bell doesn't ring. Sometimes the timekeeper gets it wrong. It's possible. It's possible. But I generally have no time whatsoever for the stupidity of the conspiracy theory mentality. But again, in boxing, oh yeah, there's all sorts of nonsense goes on. And if you have any sort of connections to any kind of people within that industry, you will know that sort of things go on. It's subtle. I always remember, this is going back a long way, a former British featherweight champ, I can't remember his name, Asian fella. He said that he went to France once for a fight, and they sent him a couple of, shall we say, ladies of the night to try and wear him out the night before the fight. And he had his wicked way with a pair of them, and then went out and knocked the French guy out the following day. So it was like, thank you very much. That's what I call room service. You know what I mean? But yeah, I don't know. This one, I don't know. What's the fix in? I think you will always get house fighters being mollycoddled up to a point. You will always get, certainly with scorecards, possibly, you know, even the refereeing will be more lenient towards the house fighter than any other guy, because sometimes this happens. You know, there's just that. Sometimes you realize you can be biased without realizing it, and a biased referee or judge, sometimes they will swear blind that they're not biased because they don't realize they've actually been influenced by, you know, a subtle sort of imposition of, you know, certain niceties. You can be wooed, you can be manipulated, you know what I mean? Yeah. But I think with this fight, I think it's a weird one, isn't it? I was just sitting there thinking, what the hell is he doing on the floor? He's not been, and when he took a knee twice, I'm thinking, what's going on? Does he want to quit? And his body language, his facial expression, Dubois I'm talking about, was very, very weird. Very sort of, what do I do? What do I do? Where am I going? I think this is actually a worse scenario than him getting battered and quitting against Joyce. Because I can understand that. The guy had a fractured eye socket and he'd taken some heavy wallops beforehand and he was trying to win. And all right, he took a knee and quit. Yeah, okay. And then in boxing, that's considered a cardinal sin. But no, I don't think it was that bad. Not compared to this. The body language and the reaction to being badly hurt from Dubois was not that of a man I would say is a natural fighting man. I don't think it's really got much to do with inexperience or anything like that. I mean, that comes into it maybe, but you know, can you imagine Tyson Fury doing that, reacting like that? Can you imagine? Even Anthony Joshua, when he was getting bounced around the canvas by Ruiz, he was getting up and trying to fight back. He just didn't have it on him. But those temple shots, and that's what it was, the top of the head temple shot, they leave you discombobulated for a long, long time. That's concussion stuff. So, I don't know. Anyway, it's a bit of a rambler, this one, but leave your comments below. I'm always interested. What do you think? You think this was a fix? I don't buy that. And if you do think it was a fix, can you show me some evidence? Can you explain why you think that? I can stand people that say I'm suspicious of that. Yeah, I'm very suspicious. There's a difference between that and someone saying, oh, it's a fix. Well, if you're going to make that statement and you're absolutely convinced, you've got to have some sort of evidence. And when people say, well, it's obvious, is it? Well, you explain to me why it's obvious. Okay. Well, that's all I'm asking. If you're adamant that the fix is in, you've got to explain it to me. Right? Because as someone who likes to think rationally and logically and with a bit of common sense, I won't make a decision unless I've seen some evidence. I might have suspicions, but I won't make an absolutely conclusive, comprehensive decision until I've seen some evidence. So leave your comments below. I'm always interested to hear. You know what I'm going to say now. Hit the like button. It's free. Hit the subscribe button. Even better. Any button you see, hit it. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. We'll speak again soon. As always, take care of yourselves and bye for now.